When you're setting up a business, there's really three main options which you're probably going to consider as your sort of legal structure. You can start just as yourself as a sole practitioner. It's nice and easy. There's nothing you need to do. You just decide that you're going to start working. So you don't have to form a company. It's you. You are the business. You enter into the contracts personally. The relationship is between you and the customer. They pay you personally, and you do everything. And if you've got a nice, simple business, that's often the best way to be. If you want to work with somebody else, then you could set up a partnership, and that's effectively like two sole practitioners working together to have that relationship. Partnerships are good. Traditionally, solicitors used to be set up as partnerships, but a lot of other businesses can do that too. And again, that's really a choice between how you want to organise your affairs. If you can share everything together, if you want to work together equally, then a partnership might be a good way to go. I think for most businesses, if you're serious about building a business, making a profit from it, then probably the way to go is a limited company. They're not difficult to set up. You fill in a few forms, send a small fee to company's house, and they incorporate a limited company for you. You can be a single shareholder. You don't have to have other people, but you can bring other people on. So if you want to grow and perhaps start off on your own but bring other people in, then you can give them shares. So it's quite a flexible structure. To me, I think having a limited company, it gives you that credibility that you are a serious business. It gives you the ability to grow. You do have some protection. So if you're borrowing, if you're doing something slightly more risky, then having that limited liability means that the company takes full responsibility for everything, not you personally. However, there is a big but to that. If you were to take out a loan from the bank, you can't solely rely on the company, because the bank is going to understand that a newly formed company might not have any assets, might not be able to service the loan, so you're probably going to have to give a personal guarantee. So that means that you are personally liable as well as the company being liable. So there are advantages and disadvantages. People talk about disadvantages of having to file accounts, an annual return, these sorts of things. If you're serious about the business, you're going to have an accountant anyway. If you're going to make a profit, as you should be aiming to do with your company, then the cost of the accountant should be covered within that. So out of the choice of the three, sole practitioner, partnership, limited company, for me, a limited company wins every day.
As a newbie starting a business, they could start as a sole trader, or they could be a partnership, or they could be a limited company. And they've all got their advantages and disadvantages, but it depends on the type of business. So if you're a consultant, you could be a sole trader or limited company. If you're providing products with warranty, it would be prudent to be limited, because if there was a major issue, you wouldn't solely be responsible.
When I set up the business, I had a choice as to what sort of structure I wanted to be. I could have started trading immediately as a sole trader, or I could have set up as a limited company. Partnership was an option because it was just me, and I had no intention at that point of taking on any partners. I decided to go for a limited company because, again, I felt that gave me more credibility than as a sole trader. And also it was the advantages of having limited liability and being able to take dividends rather than just paying income and being charged like that as a sort of a higher rate taxpayer. So I saw the advantages of a limited company outweigh the disadvantages of having to prepare accounts, to hold board meetings, to do a lot of the paperwork which comes with it. Because at the end of the day, if you're running a profitable business, then having an accountant, having all these things, they're not really a disadvantage anyway, and you're probably going to need them if you're a sole trader to organise your affairs anyway. So to me, there was no downside to having limited a company, there was only upside. It's not a myth at all. A sole trader can be a limited company. There's no problem at all with that. A few years ago, then you needed two people to be involved. you could always have a single shareholder, but you needed a director and a company secretary, so you had 2 officers in there. Now it's a case of no, you just need the one. So you can be a sole director, you don't need a company secretary anymore. The way you then sign off documents and things like that is slightly different, whereas traditionally you'd say enter into a contract and be signed by either 2 directors or director and a secretary. Now 1 director can sign. Sometimes you might need your signature witnessed, like if you were doing it as a sole trader, but again, that's a minor thing which you can overcome.